Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Qiao Yingzi. Shenhao, start with random missions. Through time travel, Ye Jin arrived at the world of Xiaohuan and also awakened the random task system. So, he became a shareholder of Chunfeng Middle School, the big landlord of the school district house, and the owner of Tong Wenjie Company. Ye Jin said solemnly, "Aunt Wenjie, I think wearing stockings every day can highlight your professional spirit." Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Qiao Yingzi discovers treasure boy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My name is Ye Jin. I am 17 years old, 9 months old, and 21 days old this year. But his actual age is already a middle-aged man of 37 years old. But it's okay. After all, my body is only 17 years old now, so I am a young man in his prime at the age of 17. As for where we are now, Chunfeng Middle School, Square. Ye Jin stood quietly among the passing students, surveying the surrounding architectural environment with his narrow eyes. After repeated confirmation, he finally let go of his worries. It seems that after crossing into the world of little joy, the butterfly's wings did not flap. At least so far. Chunfeng Middle School or Chunfeng Middle School. The protagonists in the original drama still maintained their familiar demeanor. This is really a reassuring result. Unfortunately, Ye Jin suddenly let out a sigh. On his handsome face, a faint sadness appeared. Being able to travel to the world of little joy and become a 17-year-old boy is a very joyful thing. Unfortunately, besides his handsome appearance, the young man is no less attractive than his fresh flesh. In other aspects, it is true that there are some misunderstandings. Both parents died. With only over 10,000 yuan in savings at home, it is not even considered poor in the capital city where consumption is extremely high. Additionally, due to the introverted personality of their predecessor, they have hardly made any good friends and are considered an absolute marginal member of the class. The only consolation is that there is a school district house next to Qiao Yingzi's house in Xiaohuan. So don't worry about not having a place to live. But it's just that. If there were no golden fingers, I'm afraid my future life would still be ordinary. Ye Jin persisted in buying lottery tickets for 20 years in his past life, but never won a prize exceeding 20 yuan. Finally traversing nature, hoping to end an ordinary life. It has been over a month now. Surprisingly, the gold finger, which is a standard accessory for the traveler, has not yet been reported. It makes people seriously doubt whether the posture of crossing is not quite right. I crossed over because I stepped on dog poop while walking, fell down, and hit a curb. Is it difficult? Is it because the quality of that dog poop is poor? Ye Jin rubbed his chin with his hand, thinking to himself. At this moment, a girl's voice came from behind. "Hello, could you please excuse me?" Upon hearing this, Ye Jin stepped aside and looked at the girl speaking. The girl was wearing the school uniform of Chunfeng Middle School, and although her facial features were not stunning, they also exuded an indescribable spiritual energy. It is easy for people to develop a favorable impression of it. Although he hasn't interacted with anyone in the past month. But as soon as I saw the girl, I recognized her identity. Qiao Yingzi. Qiao Yingzi. How do you know my name? Qiao Yingzi had already walked away, but when he heard this, he turned his head to look at him strangely. Ye Jin touched his nose with some helplessness. Then he answered with an awkward tone. Because we are classmates, and my home is also in Xiaohuan. Ah. Qiao Yingzi looked surprised at the words. Then he carefully scrutinized the boy of the same age in front of him with his gaze. She has medium to long hair, slightly pale skin, handsome and delicate features, and her appearance is not inferior to the little fresh meat on TV. This is strange. Why is such a handsome guy? She doesn't even have much impression. Did you just transfer over this year? No, I've been in the same class as you for 2 years, Ye Jin replied. Okay, so your presence is really. Qiao Yingzi, considering the importance of politeness, did not continue to speak. But the meaning is clear. A slight curiosity appeared on her lovely face. I didn't expect it. There are such magical creatures in the world. Despite their outstanding appearance, they were able to make themselves unaware of the other person's existence for a full 2 years. I don't even have any impression of it. This should be considered a superpower, right? Amazing. It's amazing. Qiao Yingzi sighed inwardly. I became even more curious about the boy in front of me. Coincidentally, Huang Jitao and Wang Yidi also arrived by their side. She walked over to the two of them and whispered, Tao Zi, Wang Yidi, have you ever seen that boy? Huang Jitao followed Qiao Yingzi's gaze and looked over. Then a hint of appreciation flashed in his eyes. She is a beauty-conscious girl. Is that handsome guy a new transfer from our class? Guess what? Qiao Yingzi replied with a smile on her face. What does it mean? He said he has been in the same class as us for 2 years. Ha! Huang Jitao and Wang Yidi both looked a little surprised when they heard the answer. No, right. That handsome guy from the art department with long hair is actually their classmate for 2 years. Why didn't you notice it before? Qiao Yingzi said with a magical expression, I was also very unbelievable just now. I never expected there to be such a person in the world who has no sense of existence. However, this feeling is quite good. A handsome guy full of transparency, realizing that he was like accidentally excavating a treasure. I think so too, Wang Yidi immediately nodded excitedly. As he spoke, he occasionally glanced in the direction of Ye Jin with his eyes, and his heart had already begun to plan secretly. If the other party doesn't have a sense of existence, that definitely doesn't have a girlfriend, not even a friend. At this point, if she becomes friends with the other person, she can transform into the only beam of light in their world. It's so beautiful. It's so romantic. She even thought of the lines for their future wedding in an instant. That day, I discovered you and became the light of your vitality. Qiao Yingzi saw Wang Yidi there in a daze. I didn't pay attention to the other party either. But instead, they continued to discuss the matter of Ye Jin with Huang Jitao. Both girls are very interested in him and plan to find an opportunity to learn more about each other's deeds. On the other side, Ye Jin, on the other hand, briefly surveyed Chunfeng Middle School. Just prepare to go to the classroom and wait for class. As a result, just a few steps away, a woman in uniform, the bubbles on the head were attracted. He looked at the strange chat bubbles and felt a bit surprised. And upon careful observation, it was discovered. There is also a row of glowing fonts inside the bubble. Random task. Say hello to teacher Li Meng and obtain 10 units of Shuxiang Yayuan. Gold finger. Good guy, my golden finger has finally arrived. Ye Jin saw clearly the contents inside the bubble and immediately became somewhat excited. Then he stood up and came to his teacher Li Meng's side. He hasn't spoken yet. Li Meng was the first to ask in a puzzled tone. Classmate, which class are you from? Ye Jin was speechless. The presence of the predecessor is also too low. How could I not even remember having such a student, my own teacher Li Meng? He was speechless for a few seconds. Then he greeted the other person seriously. Hello, teacher Li Meng. I am Ye Jin, who has been studying in your class for 2 years. What? Li Meng couldn't help but freeze at the words. Then he looked at him with an especially curious gaze. I watched it for a while. It's a bit emotional and authentic. So you're the Ye Jin who went back to find someone to call for attendance and skipped school for 2 years. Chapter 2. Continuously starting tasks. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Meng's words just fell. The prompt sound of the task system came from Ye Jin's ear. Complete the task and obtain 10 units of the Shuxiang Yayuan. The property certificate and keys have been issued to your home, please accept them yourself. Ye Jin heard a warning sound in his ear. I couldn't help feeling a little excited inside. Surprisingly, just by saying hello, I was able to obtain 10 suites in the Shuxiang Yayuan. This is also too exciting. He then bid farewell to Li Meng and walked to the side to study the newly launched task system. He tried to look over the head of a female classmate who passed by. 1 second, 2 seconds later, 3 seconds later, a gray-white chat bubble appeared on the other person's head. A row of glowing fonts is also displayed in the bubble. Random task. Tell Shizhenxiang that her fox odor is very feminine, and reward her with a spicy slap on the left face. What kind of mission is this? Fox odor. No wonder there's an unpleasant smell. Ye Jin murmured in his heart. As for whether to complete the task of female classmate Shizhenxiang, it is impossible. Only if there is a brain pit will you do that. He then followed the method and checked the classmates around him one by one. Then, as long as you gaze at the person's head for about 2 to 3 seconds, you can activate their random task. But the rewards for the task are of little use. Either it's verbal gratitude, or it's a reward of some ordinary fruits and the like. For example, to a classmate named Su Daqiang, Shizhenxiang actually had a crush on you for 2 years. So you can get an apple that has been eaten by insects. Simple evaluation. Useless. Besides that, Ye Jin also found that except for Li Meng, who had dark blue bubbles, all other classmates had gray or black chat bubbles. Perhaps this is a manifestation of worthless tasks. So he decisively gave up on completing the task of an ordinary classmate. I plan to find opportunities to start those original tasks. If the guess is correct. Perhaps only important characters like Li Meng in the original drama can embark on valuable missions. I don't know where Qiao Yingzi and Huang Jitao are now. Ye Jin stood in place, searching around with his eyes. But I didn't find the figures of the previous few girls. I think I have already gone to the classroom. He decided to start tasks on several female protagonists in the classroom. The result is not yet ready to leave. Behind it came the roaring sound of the sports car engine coming from far and near. So he looked towards the back. And in its gaze, a seemingly valuable red Ferrari sedan rushed towards the teaching building amidst the shouts of several security guards. The passing students were frightened and kept avoiding. Next, that red Ferrari is in a very graceful posture, stopped in front of the teaching building. Finally, the car door opened and a handsome young man got out of the car, scanning the surrounding students with a cool expression. But his handsomeness didn't last long. I was quickly entangled by the security guard who followed me. Both sides began to argue and argue. Ye Jin is not particularly interested in arguing, but he thinks that the guy driving a Ferrari is also an important character in the original drama. So I walked over quickly. Then stand beside and start watching. Cool Boy Ji Yang was arguing with the security guard. But suddenly he found that his classmate, the crane operator, was holding a PTZ phone and taking pictures of himself. So he immediately stepped forward and shouted. What are you shooting? Don't take any more photos. Ah, Ji Yang, what attitude do you have? Why would you allow me to drive a sports car into school, but not allow me to take videos with my phone? Fang Yifan answered with a displeased tone. After finishing speaking, he ran directly to the side of Ferrari, taking photos and touching with his hands. Ji Yang frowned and shouted, "Stop your hand and quickly get your hand off me. Do you hear me?" Fang Yifan replied nonchalantly, "I don't think so." What can you do with me? You. Ji Yangyang said the beginning and couldn't help but rush over, attempting to grab the phone from Yifan below. The two immediately began to argue in front of everyone. After seeing it, the other classmates showed no intention of stopping it, and were all watching the excitement without taking it seriously. After Ye Jin discovered that neither of the main characters in the original drama had any tasks. I don't intend to meddle in anything. But just as he was about to leave, unexpectedly, I saw a deep blue chat bubble popping up from the top of Huang Jitao's head standing next to him. Random task. Help Huang Jitao stop his backpack and reward a limited edition McLaren supercar with a garage. Surprisingly, there is a task. Ye Jin was immediately excited when he saw the task. So he secretly came to Huang Jitao's side. Then he scrutinized the other person's appearance. Looking at Huang Jitao up close, there were no blemishes on the girl's face, and her skin was as smooth as milk. Combined with the elegant and refined facial features and a slightly aloof temperament. It's simply the kind of high and cold goddess depicted in the novel. No wonder Fang Monkey can't forget her, she's really beautiful. Ye Jin sighed in his heart. And what he doesn't know is, Huang Jitao is actually observing him. She turned her head slightly and looked at his handsome appearance up close with curious eyes. After seeing the other person's narrow and melancholic eyes, a ripple suddenly rose in the girl's heart. Just as she was thinking about whether to take the initiative to greet the other person. Suddenly, Qiao Yingzi's voice came to her ear, "Tao Zi, be careful." Upon hearing this, Huang Jitao immediately turned his head to look. As a result, I found a large backpack flying rapidly towards my face. It's over. Her heart sank involuntarily. I feel like I'm going to be hit. At this moment. Suddenly, a relatively weak arm stretched out beside him and grabbed the backpack. Ye Jin. Huang Jitao looked at his master along his arm. Then the heartbeat began to accelerate uncontrollably. After Ye Jin stopped the backpack, he immediately looked at Huang Jitao's head. Then I found out that the real task in the chat bubble had been completed. Task completed. Obtain a limited edition McLaren 720 supercar, with a complimentary garage, ... I feel comfortable now. Surprisingly, I made another McLaren 720S sports car. Ye Jin couldn't help but smile happily. Huang Jitao had a misunderstanding about this, thinking that he was actually smiling at him. So I couldn't help but shyly bow my head. And others began to discuss it one after another, who is this person? It seems like Ye Jin from our class. Didn't he have a strong presence before? Why does he feel so handsome now? Wow. I didn't expect there to be such a handsome little brother in our class who loves me so much. Isn't this the hero saving beauty in TV dramas? Ye Jin ignored the discussions of the people around him. He chose to take action only because of the system's rewards. It's not even a hero saving beauty. But it doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, as long as the task is completed. He was thinking about it, but suddenly noticed that both the cute Qiao Yingzi and the haughty figure Wang Yidi had blue and red chat bubbles popping up on their heads at the same time. Qiao Yingzi. Random task. Stop the fight between Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang, reward mastery of astronomical knowledge. Wang Yidi. Random task. Beat Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang to reward Wang Yidi's basic worship. Surprisingly, there are 2 more tasks. After reading the content in the chat bubble, Ye Jin's eyes suddenly lit up slightly. Chapter 3 Wang Yidi. It seems like I have fallen into the trap. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you need to choose? Ye Jin looked at the content inside 2 chat bubbles, one blue and one red. I couldn't help but fall into contemplation. There is clearly a conflict of opposition between Qiao Yingzi and Wang Yidi's tasks. In theory, one can only choose one from them to complete. Then the other reward can only be given up. But he has always been a greedy person. Naturally, it is impossible to give up such a readily available task reward. Only children have to make choices. I'm an adult, I want everything. Ye Jin quickly came up with a solution. At the same time, Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang have become inseparable in the battle. The two were in front of countless students around them. A unique martial arts performance was performed, and you punched and I kicked each other to greet each other. Not long after, Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang both have some degree of injuries on their bodies. Fang Yifan even received a punch in the right eye. It looks like it's about to swell into panda eyes. Although Ye Jin had a good idea, he wanted to prevent the two from competing in order to complete the task. But it is not recommended to watch dogs bite for a while longer. He stood by watching the increasingly fierce struggle between the two main characters in the original drama. I chuckled inwardly. In the original drama, it seems that the two did not fight so fiercely. Is it difficult because of the butterfly effect? It seems that there is only one explanation left. Stop it, you guys, stop it. Don't fight anymore. Qiao Yingzi can't bear to watch anymore. She shouted loudly, ready to personally rush over and stop the fight. Upon seeing this, Ye Jin quickly reached out and stopped Qiao Yingzi. The other party is a girl. If you rush into such a fierce fight, there will inevitably be danger. Qiao Yingzi couldn't help but feel anxious when stopped and said, "Oh, why are you blocking me?" Ye Jin replied calmly, "Don't worry, I'll stop them." Qiao Yingzi was slightly stunned at the words. Then I saw this boy who usually had no presence in the class. Surprisingly, he decisively charged towards Fang and Ji who were fighting. But why is there something wrong with his posture? Qiao Yingzi was thinking so. But it was immediately apparent that Ye Jin did not make any verbal persuasion after quickly approaching the two of them in the fight. But instead, he seized the opportunity and punched Ji Yangyang's handsome cheek. With the screams of the girls in the crowd, Ji Yangyang lost his center of gravity and instantly fell to the ground. Help Fang Yifan defeat Ji Yangyang and gain 10 points of strength. After Ye Jin knocked down Ji Yangyang with one punch, a prompt sound from the task system came in my ear. At the same time, I also feel that the muscles in my body are noticeably tense, and it seems that my strength has also increased. He sensed this situation. A look of surprise couldn't help but appear in my eyes. Surprise joy. I didn't expect to defeat Ji Yangyang and still receive a reward from Fang Yifan. Isn't this like killing 3 birds with 1 arrow? No, what are you doing? Do we need an outsider to intervene in our fight? After seeing Ji Yangyang lying on the ground, Fang Yifan was momentarily stunned. Then he shouted with some dissatisfaction. In his opinion, as long as he can defeat Ji Yangyang with his own hands in a while, he can become a hero in Tao Zi's mind. Result: now everyone has been disrupted by this meddlesome guy. He was a bit angry because of this, his eyes fixed on the unfamiliar boy in front of him. Ye Jin heard Fang Monkey roaring at him. No verbal rebuttal was used. But step by step, they walked up to the other person. As Fang Yifan watched him walk over, he couldn't help but furrow his brows and ask, "What do you want to do?" "I haven't finished speaking yet." A fist rushed over. Then he directly hit his other unharmed eye. Pounce Fang Yifan was beaten and fell directly to the ground. Help Ji Yangyang defeat Fang Yifan and gain 10 points of force points. The familiar feeling struck again. After 2 rounds of strengthening of military strength, Ye Jin. I just feel that my overall strength has been elevated by a small level. Even because of this sudden surge in power, there is an illusion that I can hit 10 at a time. Of course, he quickly calmed down his mood. Then, amidst countless pairs of gazes around, from a commanding perspective, look at the two people who have been knocked down by oneself. Ji Yangyang had already sat up at this moment. But he had no strength to stand up again, and could only stare angrily at Yi Jin not far away. Who are you? I got into a fight with Fang Yifan, what's your business? He asked loudly. Fang Yifan also spoke out in agreement, yes, I had a fight with Ji Yangyang, it was a 1v1 men's war. What's wrong with your sudden intervention? Who are you? Don't tell me you just want to maintain campus order, . Facing questioning from two people. Yi Jin remained silent. There is no intention of paying any attention. His focus at this moment is on why the system task has not been completed. Is it difficult? Has the dispute not been completely resolved yet? Yi Jin thought so in his heart. I thought about giving Fang and Ji an enhanced version of Iron Fist. Fortunately, the system.So system has been activated. Complete Qiao Yingzi's random task to gain mastery of astronomical knowledge. Complete Wang Yidi's random task and obtain Wang Yidi's basic worship. After the prompt sound is turned on. Yi Jin soon discovered that there was a lot of astronomical knowledge in his mind that he had never understood before. Although overall it's not very useful. But using it to outfit X for non-professional astronomy enthusiasts is definitely very effective. As for the other reward. He thought to himself and turned his head to look at Wang Yidi not far away. Then I found that the girl was looking in her direction with fiery eyes. Seems like it's done. Wang Yidi, are you looking foolish? Qiao Yingzi noticed Wang Yidi's situation and pushed her with her hand. Wang Yidi's book sword came to his senses. Then he said in a somewhat fanciful tone. Wow, Yi Jin was too manly just now. It's just like those heroes who see injustice in novels. And he's also so handsome. Yingzi, I'm done. It seems like I'm about to fall. What should I do? Are you okay? He's clearly a violent maniac, not just seeing injustice on the road. Xiao Yingzi, however, has a different opinion. Although Yi Jingyang's behavior did indeed prevent Fang Monkey from fighting with Ji Yangyang. But the actions taken were to control violence with violence. She admitted that in the situation just now, the physical crossover effect was definitely the best, but she really didn't like it. I also had some negative impressions of Yi Jin in my heart. Wang Yidi didn't care at all when he heard this. Still looking at Yi Jin standing alone in the middle of the crowd with a slightly burning gaze. She felt that the other person's behavior just now was simply stunning. Should I go up and ask for a contact information? Wang Yidi couldn't help but ask Qiao Yingzi in a low voice. But she hasn't taken action yet. Teacher Li Meng, the homeroom teacher, rushed over in a hurry. Then the three people who caused trouble were taken away together. Chapter 4. Obtaining 3 years of high school knowledge. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The students who watched the whole process, watching Yi Jin and others leave, were discussing and discussing. Who was that boy just now? I don't know. He's from our class, his name is Yi Jin. Yi Jin. Is it that little transparent? How could it be? Isn't Yi Jin a guy who used to have no presence at all? Why has he become so handsome now? Wow, one punch at a time is so cool. I never expected there to be such a handsome boy in our school. The story of Yi Jin's 2 fists resolving disputes. Through word of mouth among the onlookers, it quickly spread throughout the entire Chunfeng Middle School. And it quickly became a hot topic of discussion. However, Yi Jin himself is not very clear about these. Because he has already been taken by Li Meng to the Academic Affairs Office, preparing to receive education. Li Meng looked at the 3 boys standing in a row in front of her. My face couldn't help but turn a little blue. As a teacher with a strict and strong personality. She has very strict requirements for her class students. And now, 3 boys in my class have caused such a good scene in front of all the students. It's so embarrassing. You 3. Forget it, I won't tell you now. Let's wait until I finish calling. Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang became anxious when they heard that they were going to call their parents. But they couldn't stop it. I could only watch as Li Meng dialed the phone numbers of Fang Yifan's mother, Tong Wenjie, and Ji Yangyang's mother, Lu Jing, and detailed the incident of the 2 fighting. But when she planned to call Ye Jin's parents, but it was discovered that the other party's parents had already died. So he sighed and didn't call Ye Jin's other relatives. Alright, I've finished my call. Can you explain to me one by one what's going on? Li Meng frowned slightly and said seriously. She is only in her 20s. But when it comes to speaking, there is a strong aura of intellectual resilience all over, making one appear very courageous. The male teacher Pan Shui sitting next to him was even a bit stunned. A few seconds passed. Fang Yifan was the first to speak up. Teacher, it's like this. I didn't intend to cause any trouble, I was just holding a gimbal and my phone there to shoot the cultural scenery of our school. Result. Fang Yifan, are you shameless? It's clear that you touched my car first, okay? Ji Yangyang interrupted him. Fang Yifan then began to argue in a very dissatisfied tone. Li Meng saw 2 live treasures arguing in the academic affairs office. Quickly slammed the table with force. Bang, a dull sound. Suddenly, it rang out in the academic affairs office. Pan Shui was drinking water when he was scared and the water in his cup spilled out, wetting his pants. Ji Yangyang and Fang Yifan quickly shut up. And he lowered his head nervously. Class teacher Li Meng is known as the Iron Stick Yam, but it is not just a false name. The other party has a very high reputation in the class. They dare not easily touch their tiger whiskers. Alright, these 2 guys are useless. Let's talk about it, Ye Jin. Li Meng turned her head to look at Ye Jin as she spoke. At this moment, a girl's voice came from outside the academic affairs office. Teacher Li Meng, we are also here. Okay, you guys come in. Li Meng turned to Qiao Yingzi, Huang Jitao, and Wang Yidi and said. Upon hearing this, the 3 girls walked into the academic affairs office and came to the side of Ye Jin and others. Ye Jin then recounted the background of the previous incident. After listening, Li Meng frowned deeply and said, You said you wanted to stop, so why did you hit your classmate? Ye Jin originally intended to find any excuse to explain. Unexpectedly, a blue chat bubble floated out of Li Meng's head. And the text inside the bubble. Random task. Sincerely admit your mistake to Li Meng and obtain a complete set of high school knowledge. I'm sorry, Teacher Li Meng. It's my problem. The approach I took was too radical. Upon seeing the content of the task, Ye Jin immediately apologized from the bottom of his heart. The words fell. He heard the prompt sound of completing the task again. Immediately after, a large amount of knowledge from 3 years of high school came to mind. In just a few seconds, he has mastered countless high school students across the country who work hard every day for 3 years, but cannot fully grasp only the content. Not much to say. Task system YYDS. Thank you also to Teacher Li Meng. Li Meng originally planned to teach a lesson. But seeing Ye Jin's attitude of admitting his mistake so well, he took back what he was going to say. On the contrary, it was Fang Yifan next to him. After listening to Ye Jin's apology, he immediately said angrily. Do you now know how to apologize? Why bother meddling early on? Is there something wrong with it? Fang Yifan. Li Meng shouted. Fang Yifan immediately shrank his neck in fear and lowered his head deeply. Ye Jin took the opportunity to explain. Teacher, I didn't think too much before. If my backpack had almost hit Teacher Li Meng, I would definitely have rushed forward as well. All right, don't be stingy, Li Meng replied with a hint of anger. Yes. He nodded somewhat disapprovingly. In my heart, I was thinking that if there were similar things, I would definitely have to go. After all, getting double rewards all at once is just too satisfying. Ye Jin, don't think apologizing is okay on your end. Li Meng suddenly spoke harshly on the other side. Ye Jin was slightly puzzled upon hearing this and said, Teacher, what's up? Li Meng opened the drawer with a serious expression and took out several transcripts from inside. Then he pointed to the name above and said, Ye Jin, this is your final grade from last semester. Are you looking at it yourself? Our Chunfeng High School is one of the best high schools in the entire capital city. Do you think with such grades, you can still stay stable in school? Perhaps what the teacher said may not sound good, but the fact is, I hope you have prepared yourself mentally first. Psychological preparation. Ye Jin looked slightly surprised at Li Meng. Your grades will definitely be difficult to get into a normal high school, so my suggestion is that if you don't perform well in this opening exam, you should skip class. She answered with a serious and thoughtful tone. After listening, Ye Jin showed a nonchalant expression. Squatting class. With just 3 years of high school knowledge acquired. How could you still be on duty? With his current level of knowledge, even if he directly takes the college entrance examination, he will definitely achieve very good results. Teacher. Listen to me finish speaking. Li Meng was not given a chance to speak on his end. Still teaching in Dun, constantly persuading Ye Jin with words, urging him not to have any resistance towards squatting classes first. Because compared to squatting classes, not being able to get into a suitable university is the biggest regret in life. Then tell the other party to try and work hard during this period. The best situation is to continue reading without squatting in class. Although your foundation is not good, if you work hard in your final year of high school, you will still have the opportunity to attend a good university in the future. Chapter 5. Lose, kneel down, sing conquer. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Just as Li Meng was talking endlessly. However, Ye Jin suddenly spoke up. He said with a particularly serious expression. Teacher, during the summer vacation, I had already crammed into the knowledge of the first and second years of high school. Now, let alone the promotion exam, with my strength, even Ivy League schools are completely at ease. The words fell. The entire academic affairs office has become quiet. The teachers who were originally busy with various things. They all turned their gaze towards each other. They all want to see who the talent is, who dares to speak so loudly and say that Ivy League schools are so worthless. Li Meng showed a somewhat helpless expression. As the head teacher. Although she doesn't quite remember Ye Jin's appearance, she is very clear about his grades. If Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang are hovering on the edge of a cliff, they are likely to fall off. So Ye Jin is the kind of super scumbag who has already fallen off a cliff. And reality is not a martial arts novel. How could it happen to fall off a cliff and pick up a martial arts secret script, then instantly counterattack and become a learning god? Ye Jin, the teacher knows that children of your age are quite competitive. But don't be too confident either. Li Meng frowned slightly and earnestly advised. Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang, the two enemies, couldn't help but resist. They all showed a funny expression. Fang Yifan continued. Ye Jin, I doubt if you took the wrong medicine when you went back during the summer vacation. Surprisingly able to say such big words. Do you know what the concept of an Ivy League school is? You're quite clear, right? Ye Jin responded with a blank expression and mocked. Do you know? Are you really joking instead of joking? He paused slightly and continued to ask. Ye Jin extended a finger and pointed to his serious expression. Are you joking with me like this? If you still don't believe it, then let's make a bet. If I can win the first place in the joint exam in this school opening survey, how about kneeling and singing "Conquer" at the flag-raising ceremony? Okay, it's the same if you lose. After a moment of silence, Fang Yifan readily agreed. Just kidding. What a great opportunity to retaliate against Ye Jin. How can we miss it? He only needs to think of Ye Jin losing the bet and kneeling to sing the scene of conquest to all the teachers and students in the flag-raising ceremony. I couldn't help but show an excited expression. As for whether I will lose or not. How could that be? Unless Ye Jin was captured by aliens during the summer vacation to transform his brain, it is absolutely impossible for him to transform from a scumbag to a god of learning in just one summer vacation. Hee, if anyone doesn't sing then they'll be their grandson. Fang Yifan added with a smile. Ji Yangyang didn't show much reaction on the surface upon hearing these words, but still maintained a aloof demeanor. In my heart, I feel a deep sense of satisfaction. After all, regardless of the final outcome of this bet, one of his two enemies will suffer a great shame, to the extent that they will become a laughingstock in their future high school studies. Random task. Achieve first place in the joint exam of the opening and closing exams, with a reward of 100,000 yuan. Ye Jin also heard the system prompt sound on his side. So I instantly felt comfortable. With his current strength, winning the first place in the National College Entrance Examination is a steady and reliable thing. This is equivalent to giving away 100,000 yuan for this mission. It's simply amazing. What are you talking about? Upon hearing their bet, Qiao Yingzi and others were also slightly startled. Qiao Yingzi couldn't help but frown and say. Wang Yidi also looked at Ye Jin with a deep sense of concern in his eyes. She has developed a good impression of Ye Jin now. But I really don't believe the other party can win first place in the bottom exam. Huang Jitao stood beside him, unable to help but frown. But after seeing the confidence in Ye Jin's eyes, she couldn't help but feel a strange premonition, as if Ye Jin could really win first place in the joint examination. So he turned his head and looked at Fang Monkey with a somewhat skeptical gaze. Fang Monkey was completely immersed in excitement. It did not reveal any sense of crisis. He continued to smile and said to Qiao Yingzi. Yingzi, don't worry, I can't lose the game anyway. You just need to wait and watch Ye Jin kneel at the flag-raising ceremony, singing for you. All right. The words were not finished yet, but were interrupted by Li Meng. Her face turned pale with iron. Obviously, I'm a bit angry. Fang Yifan, why are you having so many things? Why kneel and sing "Conquer" at the flag-raising ceremony? Are you planning to embarrass our class and my teacher? Fang Yifan felt very aggrieved upon hearing these words. It was clearly a bet first proposed by Ye Jin. Why blame him now? But he knew that Li Meng was currently in a fit of anger, so he naturally wouldn't say anything to refute it, otherwise he would definitely be punished. After all, the parents will come over later. I know I'm wrong, Teacher Li Meng. It's good to know. Li Meng replied with some frustration. Then he turned his head to look at Ye Jin. She wanted to scold the other person a few words, but considering their family background, she still swallowed them all back. Finally, I just took out the paper and pen to write my review from the drawer. Ye Jin, write me a 1,000-word review now, and then go back with Qiao Yingzi and the others. Okay, teacher. Ye Jin heard that as long as he wrote a review, he could go back. Suddenly, a slight smile appeared. Then he took the paper and pen and started writing quickly. He worked part-time as an internet writer in his previous life, so his writing style was very fast. The 1,000-word review book was solved in less than 10 minutes. Li Meng took over the self-criticism book and read it once. I found that the entire article was formulaic nonsense, but there was basically no problem. So he nodded and said, all right, you and Qiao Yingzi can go back to class. Upon hearing these words, Fang Yifan and Ji Yangyang suddenly became somewhat reluctant. The latter couldn't help but frown and say. Teacher, even though we are 3 people fighting, why can Ye Jin just write a self-criticism letter and go back first? Do you have any objections? Why don't you also write one before the parents come? Li Meng responded with a stern tone. At the same time, his gaze pierced at Ji Yangyang and the others like lightning. The 2 of them immediately lowered their heads when they noticed their gaze. I dare not say anything more. Thank you very much, Teacher Li Meng. Ye Jin, on the other hand, sincerely expressed his gratitude. Li Meng shook her head at the words and said, It's okay. Your original intention is good, but you still need to think twice before doing things. It's best not to act impulsively. Okay, Ye Jin nodded earnestly. But I still don't care much in my heart. Then they left the academic affairs office with Qiao Yingzi and headed towards the classroom. Chapter 6. Qiao Yingzi Doubts Life. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After leaving the academic affairs office, Qiao Yingzi couldn't help but ask in confusion. Ye Jin, shouldn't everything you said to Teacher Li Meng just now be serious? Are you talking about my studies? Ye Jin asked. Well, don't tell me, you really think you can get into an Ivy League school? She spoke with a skeptical expression on her face. Ye Jin faced the girl's questioning with a confident expression. He said with a faint smile on his face. I'm not joking with you, I really made a lot of progress in my studies during the summer vacation. If you don't believe it, Qiao Yingzi, you can come up with a question to test me. Okay, Qiao Yingzi nodded immediately. Then, as he walked towards the classroom, he began to ask questions. She quickly asked a math problem of ordinary difficulty in her 3rd year of high school. After hearing this, Ye Jin quickly gave the answer. Almost without any thought. Xiao Yingzi, Huang Jitao, and Wang Yidi all have very good grades. Therefore, it was quickly confirmed that the other party's answer was correct. You actually answered correctly. Shouldn't it be a coincidence that you have studied this question? No, I'll come up with a more challenging question, one that's not in the textbook. If you can still answer, then I really admire you. Xiao Yingzi still doesn't quite believe it. After a brief moment of contemplation, she gave another relatively more difficult question. After listening, Ye Jin still acted as before and quickly gave an answer. Neither Huang Jitao nor Wang Yidi can directly calculate the answer this time. So everyone turned their gaze to Qiao Yingzi. The former was the first to ask. Yingzi, is the answer given by Ye Jin correct? That's right, Qiao Yingzi nodded with a skeptical expression on her face. If answering the first simple question can still be said to be accidental, so answering the second question with a much higher difficulty level fully demonstrates that Ye Jin really has a certain level of strength. Even if it is impossible to guarantee the first place in the joint examination, as he said. It can also be considered as the middle level in the class. Good guy, Ye Jin didn't expect that you really have some strength. But that's not enough. I have to come up with the last question, which is a math problem I learned in an extracurricular tutoring class. If you can still solve it, then I believe you really have the ability to compete for first place in the joint examination. Xiao Yingzi spoke with a serious expression. Ye Jin looked as if he had casually let his horse come over and said, You can come out as you please. I'm not afraid anyway. Upon hearing this, Wang Yidi immediately gave him a thumbs up and said, Ye Jin, you are so amazing. Ye Jin responded with a smile, It's okay, it's just at the top level of the ordinary general entrance examination. You two are enough. Huang Jitao rolled his eyes in frustration when he heard their conversation. What and what? I haven't even answered the question yet. The cow will start blowing. She then turned to look at Xiao Yingzi and said, Yingzi, hurry up and solve the problem. You must defeat Ye Jin. Don't worry. Xiao Yingzi confidently patted her chest. Then he told Ye Jin the super difficult problem he learned in the tutoring class. After listening, Ye Jin furrowed his brow slightly. Good guy, the question is really a bit difficult. The knowledge he gained in his third year of high school is actually a bit difficult to handle. However, there's still no problem. The answer to this question is... Ye Jin's words fell. Qiao Yingzi suddenly widened her eyes, her gaze very incredulous. Even the pace of progress has come to a halt. The others also stopped along. Huang Jitao saw his good friend's reaction and immediately asked in disbelief, didn't he answer correctly? Qiao Yingzi remained silent for a while before nodding. You really got it right. And from the perspective of problem-solving strategies alone, it is surprisingly more concise and easy to understand than what tutors teach. This is really unbelievable. She remained silent for several seconds. He asked in a rather puzzled tone. How on earth did you do it, Ye Jin? Surprisingly, I was able to improve my learning level to a level higher than mine in just one summer vacation. I'm a bit skeptical about life now. Before me, I worked hard every day for 2 years and was surpassed by you who had studied for a summer. It's okay, it's okay. It's difficult for Ye Jin to give them specific details. So we can only choose to be perfunctory. He didn't really explain how he studied during the summer vacation, but rather worked very hard all summer. After listening, Qiao Yingzi, Huang Jitao, and Wang Yidi all had some doubts about life. Then they all exclaimed. Is this the difference between genius and ordinary people? And while they are engaged in psychological activities, Ye Jin was thinking about the task system. Analyze based on known information. Can obtain several important pieces of intelligence. Firstly, high-reward missions can only be initiated on important characters in the original drama. Secondly, it seems that everyone cannot restart in a short period of time after completing the task, but it is currently unknown how long the cooldown time will be. Let's assume it's 1 day. Finally, system, is it there or not? Hurry up and tell me if there are any other ways to earn task rewards. If you don't tell me, I'll just find some dog poop on the roadside and continue crossing, switching to a more obedient system. Answer the host, this system also has a random treasure box function. The system still cannot withstand a threat, and another function has been explained. But no matter how you ask later, it doesn't even say how to find those random treasure chests. Ye Jin could only temporarily give up and followed Qiao Yingzi back to the classroom, honestly starting a day of classes. Shuxiang Yaoyuan Community. Outside a certain building in the community, more than 10 people are gathered around a brand new blue McLaren 720S sports car to discuss. This car looks so handsome. There are indeed many wealthy people in our community. This car costs several million at least. It's so handsome, I really want to drive it too. In addition to discussions, there were also young boys who kept standing next to the McLaren 720S taking photos, intending to use them as internet images to deceive young girls. There is also a girl. I have already sat at the front of the car, constantly posing and taking various pictures of the horse fork beetle. However, her photos haven't been taken yet. However, Ye Jin has returned. Seeing someone sitting in his car, he immediately stepped forward with some displeasure to stop it. You hurry down. Go down. Who are you, little brother? The girl in cool clothes didn't even care about Ye Jin when she saw him wearing school uniform. Didi at that moment, McLaren's unlocking sound sounded. Everyone was stunned at the sound and searched around to see who the owner was. But in the end, it fell on Ye Jin. He slowly took out the key from his pocket and repeated to the girl, hurry up and get down there, don't let me say it again. The girl suddenly felt a bit dumbfounded. Little brother, don't mind, I'm just taking a photo, he said with a flattering smile as he got out of the car. Are you free, little brother? Can you take me out for a ride? I can stay up late with you and play games, no need. Ye Jin doesn't even look up to a gold digger with good looks at most. I opened the door and got into the car on my own, then drove the McLaren 720S around the street before happily returning to my home in Xiaohuan. Chapter 7 Wang Yidi. Can you schedule me to watch a movie? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ye Jin opened the door with a key and returned to his home located in Xiaohuan. And its predecessor was an orphan who lost both parents. There are naturally no other people present at home. He is quite satisfied with this. After all, there is no need to engage in a battle of wits and bravery with the former parents like many time-traveling tycoons in novels, in order to prevent identity exposure. Stand in the living room and take off your clothes. Ye Jin got up and went into the bathroom for a brief wash. Dispel the fatigue from the body after studying all day. Then he returned to the living room to search for it. Soon he was on the coffee table next to the sofa in the living room and saw 10 neatly arranged property certificates. So he immediately sat on the sofa and picked up the property certificate for inspection. As one book after another is checked, the authenticity of the property certificate has also been thoroughly determined. Everything is true. The system is not deceiving me. Ye Jin sighed with a smile on his face. Then I began to reminisce about my future life. As a famous school district house near Chunfeng Middle School, Xiaohuan not only has a good location and convenient transportation, but also has a very high value. And it's also very popular. He even has 10 houses in his hand. Don't worry at all, there may be situations where you can't rent it out. As an analogy, that is Song Qian, who is known as a wealthy woman, but she only has 4 houses in Xiaohuan. TSK, I just greeted teacher Li Meng and obtained more than twice the assets of Song Qian. The system is simply YYDS. Ye Jin sighed with excitement on his face. At the same time, it also reminds me of the comfortable life as a renter. I don't have to watch anything every day, watch TV, exercise for a while, play games, taste delicious food, and then go collect rent at the beginning of the month. It's truly beautiful. Besides that, he suddenly thought of another situation. If the butterfly effect doesn't have a significant impact, so Tong Wenjie will soon come to Xiaohuan to rent a house for her son. In the original drama, Tong Wenjie rented a house from Song Qian's family. But now I also have 10 houses in the Xiaohuan, which can be used for a slightly lower price than Song Qian to let Tong Wenjie and her family live in my house. Arrange a house closer to her then. When Ye Jin thought of these, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Of course he didn't mean to be close enough to have anything to do with Tong Wenjie, really not. I just feel that the other person is an important character in the original drama. If you live nearby, you can easily complete the tasks arranged by the system. Ding Ye Jin was pondering. But suddenly I heard my phone ringing inside my pocket. So I took out my phone and checked it. Discovered that it was a friend application sent by Wang Yidi. And the accompanying message from the other party is: Hello Ye Jin, I am Wang Yidi. Can I add a friend? Wang Yidi, why did she suddenly add me as a friend? Is it because the system originally rewarded beginner worship? Ye Jin murmured softly. Then I chose to agree. Then he lay on the sofa and chatted with Wang Yidi. Ye Jin. Hello. Wang Yidi. Hello, Ye Jin. Ye Jin. Why did you suddenly add me as a friend? Wang Yidi. We are classmates, even adding friends is not enough. Ye Jin. Oh, I went to take a shower. Wang Yidi. No, let's talk about it first. Ye Jin. What do you want to talk about? Wang Yidi. I think your performance at school today was so handsome and manly. The effect of beginner worship is also too good. Wang Yidi, who is at least a flower-level beauty, actually took the initiative to show her affection. Ye Jin looked at the information in the chat software. I can't help but sigh in my heart. Then I changed my posture and continued chatting with the other person. His fingers clicked quickly on the screen. Ye Jin. Are you okay? Are you okay? Wang Yidi. You're so humble. Cute smile expression, Ye Jin. Actually, in that situation, a normal man would go up there. If you were injured, I would definitely rush over as well. Wang Yidi. Really? Then I really want you to save the beauty once as a hero. Ye Jin. Are you stupid? Wang Yidi. If it's possible for your hero to save the beauty, it doesn't matter if I'm a little foolish. 3 seconds after Wang Yidi's last message was sent. That is to withdraw the message. The reason can be imagined, it must be that I felt my performance was too direct. There is no girl's reserved demeanor at all. However, Ye Jin kept watching with his phone, so naturally he saw the other person's message. So a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Not bad, not bad. It seems that this fish has taken the bait. He thought to himself. He pretended not to know and sent a message. Ye Jin. I didn't see any news you just posted. Wang Yidi. It's nothing, just forget it if you don't watch. Ye Jin. Wang Yidi. Oh, don't worry about that. I actually have a question I want to ask you. Ye Jin. What is the problem? Wang Yidi. Who do you think Huang Jitao and I look better than? Ye Jin. Of course, Huang Jitao is good. Looking. She is recognized as the school flower goddess in the school. Wang Yidi. I'm a bit unhappy now. Ye Jin. Teasing you, actually I think you look better, after all, I like lively and outgoing girls the most. Wang Yidi. Really? Ye Jin. Even more real than real gold. Wang Yidi. Hehe, thank you for thinking I look good. Actually, I don't think I need to be inferior to Tao Zi. Ye Jin. Stop being narcissistic. Wang Yidi. Where is narcissism? It's confidence. Oh, not to mention that. Do you have time on weekends? Ye Jin. What do you want to treat me to or watch a movie? Wang Yidi. No, I'm just asking. Ye Jin. Wang Yidi. Oh, can't you be a little more proactive and ask me to watch a movie? Ye Jin. Oh, may I invite you to watch a movie? What can you do with me? Wang Yidi. I don't know, let's wait until we reach the cinema. Ye Jin. No problem, then let's schedule a weekend movie and watch the latest island horror movie. Wang Yidi. Alright, hehe, you're good or bad? You must be trying to make me afraid of getting into your arms, right? Ye Jin. I don't think so. I only talked to Wang Yidi for about 10 minutes. Ye Jin successfully made an agreement with the other party to come out and watch a movie on the weekend. As for what will happen then he's not sure now. However, relying on his years of experience lingering in the flower bushes in his past life, Wang Yidi will definitely not easily escape. I hope that by then, I can become a true man in this world. Ye Jin murmured in a low voice. A hopeful expression appeared on his face. Chapter 8. Obtaining a perfect body. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next morning. The warm sunshine filtered through the clear glass and shone into the relatively small bedroom. How can you sleep? At your age, can you sleep? As the alarm sounds. Ye Jin crawled out of the blanket, left the bedroom in a daze, and walked into the bathroom. After a simple wash, he casually took out a few slices of bread from the refrigerator as breakfast. I left my home with plans to go to Chunfeng Middle School. But just as he walked out of the hallway of his own residence, he happened to meet Song Qian and Qiao Yingzi and their daughter. Ye Jin looked from a distance. I saw Song Qian's mature and graceful figure, walking with steady yet graceful steps. Walking from afar. The other party's attire are not considered open. It even appears somewhat conservative and efficient. But that mature woman's peach-like charm. But it couldn't be covered at all, and came straight towards me. After seeing it, he couldn't help but shake his mind slightly. A certain indescribable image came to mind. Gulu, then he swallowed his saliva. Ye Jin, I didn't expect you to live so close to my house. Qiao Yingzi also walked up at the right moment, smiling and raising her hand to greet. Upon hearing this, Ye Jin turned his gaze to her. Compared to her mother Song Qian, Qiao Yingzi is still just an immature green fruit. But the other person's graceful and charming temperament can also have a strong attraction to men. However, he is a man who has eaten before. For young girls, their resistance is already very strong. So he didn't show his previous demeanor. Instead, respond with a more natural and peaceful tone. Good morning, Yingzi. Mom, let me introduce you. This is Ye Jin. Qiao Yingzi then introduced herself to her mother. Although I don't quite agree with Ye Jin's rough behavior in the square yesterday. But she is a very reasonable girl. So, knowing that Ye Jin's original intention was still to persuade, there was not much concern. At this moment, I also spoke positively about Ye Jin. After listening, Song Qian's eyes towards Ye Jin showed some appreciative expressions. Then he spoke softly in a gentle voice. Listening to Yingzi's words, you are quite a good kid. Auntie hopes that in the future, you can take us Yingzi and work together to strive to get into the best Qinbei in China. Sister Song. Ye Jin is planning to say that he is almost 18 years old and not a child anymore. But I saw a blue chat bubble popping up above Song Qian's head. And the content inside the bubble. Random task. Praise Song Qian for her effective teaching and obtain a perfect body. Song Jie, thank you very much for your praise. Actually, I feel that Qiao Yingzi is the one I should learn the most. She is not only good-looking, but also has a generous and knowledgeable personality, and her academic performance is so excellent. I really don't know how you educated Miss Song, how could you train Yingzi so excellently? After seeing the task clearly, Ye Jin immediately praised Song Qian. The moment the words fall. He felt a warm current rushing rapidly from his feet to his whole body, and every time it reached a certain area, that area became particularly comfortable. The final energy converged into the human body. It has greatly enhanced people's lives. Ye Jin felt the tightness and took a slight breath. Song Qian and Qiao Yingzi did not notice his situation. But instead, he showed a happy smile for his previous praise. The latter's smile still had a slight hint of shyness. The former responds with a smile. No wonder Yingzi praised you so much in front of me. Ye Jin, you are such a good and obedient kid. Fortunately, what you said was just the truth. Ye Jin pretended to answer humbly. What I was thinking was to hurry back and change my pants. Otherwise, it would be like this for a whole day. It's true that the collapse is a bit uncomfortable. But just as he was thinking so. However, Qiao Yingzi spoke up and asked, Ye Jin, haven't anyone sent you to school? Upon hearing this, Ye Jin replied absent-mindedly, my parents have both passed away, and now I am the only one in the family. Sorry, Qiao Yingzi immediately apologized upon hearing this. She had never noticed Ye Jin's existence before. Naturally, one does not understand the other person's family background, so the previous words were indeed unintentional. After Ye Jin regained his senses. Instead, he spoke out to comfort, it's okay, Yingzi. I've been used to it since my parents passed away so long. Sigh, hear his words. Qiao Yingzi and Song Qian's faces became increasingly sad. Then Song Qian made a request. Since that's the case, I'll just take you to school. Upon hearing this, Ye Jin quickly waved his hand and said, no need, Sister Song. Song Qian, on the other hand, put on a stern expression and said, "You're still polite to me, Sister Song. If this continues, don't call me Sister Song." "Okay, thank you, Sister Song," Ye Jin said with a helpless expression. He originally wanted to go home and change into a pair of pants. Then drive the McLaren 720S to Chunfeng Middle School. Now that I heard Song Qian's invitation, I could only reluctantly agree. As for the issue with the pants, I can only endure it for a day. It shouldn't be too big a problem either. Let's go. Song Qian followed with a greeting. Then he took Ye Jin and Qiao Yingzi to his car and drove towards the location of Chunfeng Middle School. And during the driving process, Ye Jin constantly used Qiao Yingzi's strengths to praise Song Qian for her excellent education. What Song Qian cares most about is her daughter. So hearing him praise Qiao Yingzi is happier than hearing others praise him. Starting from getting in the car, the smile on her face never disappeared. And respond from time to time. "Ye Jin, you child are too talkative. Yingzi, you can't just focus on studying, you can also learn more from Ye Jin Xue on how to speak in the future. In the future, in society, emotional intelligence is often more important than intelligence." Yes, yes. Qiao Yingzi nodded repeatedly. On her lovely and beautiful cheeks, there is also a happy smile. After all, praised by a treasure boy like Ye Jin, it's hard for any girl to be unhappy. And in addition to being happy, the slightest negative impression of Ye Jin in her heart also disappeared completely. Only appreciation and goodwill remain. "Ye Jin, we can help each other at school in the future." Qiao Yingzi reached out and patted Ye Jin's shoulder, saying with a smile. Ye Jin also casually hugged her waist and said, "Don't worry, Yingzi, you will be my best friend in the future. If you have any problems with your studies or daily life, just feel free to discuss with me." Chapter 9. Fang Yifan, who is in a coma while pretending to be a prank. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Song Qian drove to Chunfeng Middle School. On the square outside the school, countless parents of students have gathered, and as you can see, there are people everywhere in Wuyang. Oath ceremony. This is a traditional activity of Chunfeng Middle School over the years. The purpose is to cheer and encourage those third-year high school students to set a correct and good goal. Ye Jin once watched the oath-taking ceremony in the original drama. But now, when observed firsthand, the feeling is completely different. Looking at the young and energetic faces on the square, he, as a person with a psychological age of an uncle, couldn't help but feel a boiling sensation in his blood. The idea of striving and striving cannot be suppressed in my heart. Of course, after considering that I have already mastered all the high school knowledge and can easily take the college entrance examination. Ye Jin's emotions quickly returned to a calm state. Let's just forget about the effort or something. Anyway, he can easily pass the college entrance examination, and he thinks he should still enjoy life well. "Ye Jin, Yingzi, I'll go find your teacher first." After getting off the car, Song Qian said something. He got up first and left. Ye Jin walked into the crowd of the square with Qiao Yingzi. Then, while strolling around, we started chatting. "Yingzi, do you know what Fang Yifan is afraid of?" "The thing I'm afraid of course it's that one," Qiao Yingzi whispered as she leaned her face towards it. When Ye Jin heard the answer, a playful smile immediately appeared on the corner of his mouth. Qiao Yingzi stood next to him, watching his smile from a close range. I couldn't help but feel a bit lost in thought. As a result, the heart rate also accelerated. After 1 or 2 seconds, she just regained her senses and quickly averted her gaze, afraid to look at the boy next to her again. So much so that they forgot to ask. The other party asked Fang Yifan what he was afraid of and what he planned to do. Then the two of them wandered and chatted on the playground. Until the official start of the oath-taking ceremony. It's just a temporary separation. Then he began to listen to the people on stage giving speeches. No matter the occasion of the speech, Ye Jin usually has no interest and only feels bored. So when he was listening to the school leader's speech, it's just constantly being distracted and dozing off. This situation continued until Huang Jitao gave a speech on stage, which was considered a slight improvement. Wow, Tao Zi truly deserves to be the school flower goddess. Ye Jin looked at Huang Jitao on the podium and couldn't help but sigh. At this moment, Huang Jitao, speaking as a student representative, perfectly interprets the 4 words of youth and beauty. Her graceful and generous speech, as well as her graceful demeanor. It has also touched the hearts of countless boys, including Ye Jin, Fang Yifan, and others. However, at the most critical moment of the girl's speech. But Fang Yifan did a trick for everyone on site. He took the risk of climbing up the roof of the podium to take photos of Huang Jitao from the best angle. Then one accidentally slipped down. Finally hung on the edge of the ceiling. Ah! After perceiving Fang Yifan's situation, a scream of terror immediately spread from the scene. After Fang Yifan's mother, Tong Wenjie, and father, Fang Yuan, saw it. Immediately rushed over regardless of everything. Unfortunately, they haven't found a way to save their son yet. Fang Yifan fell off the ceiling a few meters high and then lay unconscious on the ground. Fang Yifan. Son. Tong Wenjie and Fang Yuan walked through a sea of people. Finally rushed in front of Fang Yifan. Then he shouted with an anxious and frightened expression on his face. Li Meng serves as the homeroom teacher. At this moment, he was also trembling uncontrollably with fear. His face was almost devoid of blood. She, who is usually swift and efficient in her actions, is now almost at a loss like a little girl. Fang Yifan's mother, don't worry, let's first. What did you do? How did you become a teacher? Tong Wenjie didn't wait for Li Meng to finish speaking. It was an angry shout. She glared angrily at Li Meng in front of her. Li Meng remained calm in the face of her parents' questioning. But in reality, they have already started to panic. I opened my mouth, but I really don't know how to respond. After all, Fang Yifan is her student. She must have been derelict in her duty as a teacher for not taking good care of each other in school. Fang Yifan's mother, arguing now, is useless. Let's first find a way to take care of Fang Yifan's medical room and not delay the best treatment time. Yes, please send Fang Yifan to the medical room first. A school leader immediately agreed upon hearing this. What to give? Do you know what situation Fang Yifan is currently facing? If there is internal bleeding during the transportation process, my child, his life will be lost. Tong Wenjie's tears welled up in her eyes and she spoke in tears. When Li Meng saw her start crying, she became even more lost in her thoughts. We can only ask others to notify the doctor and rush to the scene as soon as possible to give Fang Yifan a check-up. At the same time, Ye Jin also arrived at the scene of the incident. And the first thing I saw was the red chat bubble above Li Meng's head. Random task. Help Li Meng break free and reward a cinema worth 13 million yuan. Reward a cinema. It's possible. Ye Jin saw the reward of the task clearly and immediately smiled slightly. Then he pushed aside the crowd and walked to Fang Yifan's side, pretending to be worried and crouching down to ask, but in reality, he placed a caterpillar on the other person's arm. TSK, why is there still a caterpillar on Fang Yifan's body? Finally, he shouted loudly. Others looked puzzled upon hearing these words. And they all cast their gaze at Fang Yifan lying on the ground. Then the next second, Fang Yifan, who had already lost consciousness, surprisingly climbed up in front of everyone's attention. Caterpillar. I'll go, where is the caterpillar? What's the situation? How could a caterpillar crawl onto me? Everyone looked at Fang Yifan, who was constantly shouting and jumping around there. They are all a bit confused. A few seconds passed. They are gradually realizing it. Good guy originally, this kid was afraid of causing trouble and being punished, so he pretended to be injured and unconscious. Fang Yifan, it's not Fang Yifan. Are you okay? Tong Wenjie was stunned for a while before regaining consciousness. Then quickly walked over and asked with concern. Fang Yifan had already thrown the caterpillar away, but when he heard his mother's concern, he really didn't know how to explain it. Can only fall into silence. Tong Wenjie couldn't help but understand the situation. So he immediately ran over to apologize to Li Meng. I'm sorry, teacher Li Meng. It was all my fault that I was too anxious just now. Li Meng shook her head and said, it's okay. The two of them finished speaking. This also means that the farce has come to an end. The people around were all pretending to fall and joking loudly. The scene quickly returned to a cheerful atmosphere. Ye Jin heard the system prompt sound just in time. Complete task. Obtain a cinema worth 13 million yuan. Chapter 10 Fang Yifan. Why girls like Ye Jin? You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the farce ends. It is the stage where aspiring youth can unleash their ideals. As parents and students blow up their balloons one by one. The playground quickly transformed into a colorful ocean. The breath of youth. It also fills every corner. At this point, Ye Jin stood alone in the vast sea of people. Holding a balloon with no dreams written down. Glancing around at the happy and beautiful families of three. He couldn't help but sigh. My mood also became slightly sad. At this moment. Not far away, there came a girl's voice. Ye Jin, let's release the balloons together. Qiao Yingzi. Ye Jin looked at Qiao Yingzi walking towards him. His face was slightly surprised. But I quickly realized it. The girl should have just had a dispute with her mother, so she chose to come find herself. However, even if we know the reason behind it, he couldn't help but feel a little moved. My heart has become warm and harmonious. Yingzi, why did you come to find me? Don't you release balloons with your parents? Ye Jin pretended not to know and asked. Upon hearing this, Qiao Yingzi immediately replied unhappily, stop talking, it's very annoying. Forget it, I don't want to put balloons with my parents. How about we put them together? Sure, Ye Jin nodded directly. Let's go then. She received a positive response and immediately smiled. And didn't wait for the two of them to leave. Huang Jitao ran to their side panting heavily. Then he said with a smile on his face. Ye Jin, I've been looking for you for a long time and finally found you. Do you want to set up balloons with me? I know a good place to go. Okay, let's go together. Ye Jin immediately agreed. He knew that Huang Jitao's parents were not around, and it was usually his uncle Pan Shui who took care of him. So in the current scene of a happy family of three, I will definitely feel a bit sad, just like myself. 3 people. Upon hearing the answer, Huang Jitao felt a bit puzzled. Then turn around and take a look. I realized that Qiao Yingzi was also standing next to me. After realizing the indescribable desolation in the eyes of my good friend, she didn't say much, just nodded lightly. Then the 3 of them came together to the rooftop of the teaching building, each taking out their pens and writing their dreams on their own balloons. Qiao Yingzi's dream has been steadfast from beginning to end. So at the moment of picking up the pen, without hesitation, he wrote his dream on the balloon. To be admitted to Nanjing University. Huang Jitao hesitated for a moment. I have finally made up my mind. Then he picked up his pen and wrote his dream on the balloon, stroke by stroke. To become a borderless doctor like his parents. After both girls have finished writing, They looked at each other's contents on the balloons. Then he turned his head to look at Ye Jin. I want to know what dreams the other person wrote on the balloon. Ye Jin, what is written on your balloon? Show me it. Qiao Yingzi asked softly. Upon hearing this, Ye Jin smiled and hid the balloon behind his back. I did not share the above content with the two girls. As for the reason, of course, it's because it contains some content that doesn't quite align with the core values. He continued. Sorry, the content on my balloon is confidential. So I can't show it to you. Why? Aren't we good friends? Qiao Yingzi became even more curious upon hearing this. Yeah, I also want to see Ye Jin. Huang Jitao is in continuous agreement. But no matter what the two girls say, Ye Jin kept the balloons hidden behind him and did not show them the content. Then the three of them began to fight and make noise. They were chasing on the rooftop, and cheerful laughter spread freely. Suddenly, Ye Jin did not pay attention to the relationship with those who came later. In the process of regression, unexpectedly, he accidentally knocked someone down on the ground. Ah! At the same time, the girl's exclamation sounded. After Huang Jitao and Qiao Yingzi noticed it, they quickly gave up fighting. Hurry up and have a relationship. Ye Jin, are you okay? Did you fall or not? Oh, why don't you just ask Ye Jin if there's anything wrong with me? Following Wang Yidi's voice, it rang out. She rubbed the pockets behind her jeans and got up from the ground with a somewhat melancholic expression. Ye Jin discovered that the person he knocked down was actually her. He smiled and said. So it's Wang Yidi's classmate. Are you okay? Where did it hurt? I'll rub it for you, it's okay. Wang Yidi dared not agree and quickly dodged towards the side. Ha ha ha. Qiao Yingzi and Huang Jitao laughed when they saw her reaction. The four of them then stood still and started chatting. And when they heard that Ye Jin and the others planned to release balloons together, Wang Yidi immediately raised his hand and said, Ye Jin, you're not interesting enough. Why didn't you come to me for such a good thing? I also want to release balloons with you. What, we all have special reasons, Huang Jitao said reluctantly upon hearing this. Having one Qiao Yingzi is enough trouble. She doesn't want to add another Wang Yidi. The other party is obviously not a good tea either. Wang Yidi heard her refusal but ignored it completely. Turning his head, he looked at Ye Jin. Ye Jin, would you like me to fly balloons with you? Sure, everyone is good friends anyway. Ye Jin naturally wouldn't refuse. After speaking, he secretly gave Wang Yidi a wink. Wang Yidi was immediately overjoyed when he realized it. Following her, she raised her face and looked at Huang Jitao with a proud expression. The latter is somewhat unhappy. But under Qiao Yingzi's persuasion, he quickly regained his emotions. Then the four of them planned to start releasing the balloons. But before we start, Wang Yidi, however, asked curiously, Ye Jin, what did you write on the balloon? Upon hearing this, Ye Jin saw the curious gazes cast by the three girls. After all, I handed the balloon over. After Wang Yidi took it, he read it word by word and said, Fairy, are you in the heavenly court? What is it? It turns out that this is actually written on Ye Jin's balloon. After seeing it, the three girls couldn't help but smile. Then he started teasing Ye Jin. And what they don't know is, in a nearby corner, Fang Yifan was standing there holding a balloon. He couldn't find Qiao Yingzi and Huang Jitao on the playground. I guessed that the two girls might come back to the rooftop, so I came over specifically to release the balloons with them. Result, but I witnessed the scene of them kissing and fighting with Ye Jin throughout the journey. My heart couldn't help but feel extremely sour. Ye Jin, why is this kid? Yingzi, Taozi even likes Wang Yidi so much. Is it just because he looks cooler than me? How infuriating.